You know, it's interesting as we approach the week leading to Easter, clearly those opposites are sort of running out of really things to debate. How flat they were during question time today. Because it was really interesting to see the attitude that they come in this place and the spin that they try and put onto this place that this government somehow isn't on the side of workers. Well, let me make it very clear for the record that since we've come to government, we've put in a Fair Work Commission proposal every time to support the lowest paid workers in this country, time and time again. When they were in government, do you think at all that they ever put in a submission to support the lowest paid workers, to support a pay rise for the lowest paid people in this country? The answer is no, they did not. And that was one of the very first things that the Albanese Labor government did when we first came into office. Because we've said time and time again that we want to get wages moving again, and we are. And unlike the contribution that we heard earlier, real wages are now finally starting to come back. They are now coming back and ahead of schedule because the government has been working very hard to reform the economy and make sure that people get to earn more and get to keep that extra money in their pockets. Because annual wages grew at the end of last year for the first time in almost 3 years, and that is a very sad indictment on what the legacy of those opposites who left for this government to now mop up and fix up. The most recent wage figures show we had 0.9% rise in the wage price index in December quarter, meaning that wages were 4.2% higher through the year, the equal fastest annual growth since 2009. And this is the first time since 2018 that we've seen 3 consecutive quarters of real wages growth. 3 consecutive quarters of real wages growth. But we know that people are still under pressure, which is why our cost of living tax cuts are so important, which is why the government has been working very hard to introduce other relief measures in this place. But the irony is those opposite keep saying no. They keep coming in this place and voting against what I think are very moderate changes that will help people deal with their cost of living pressures. But we also remember it was a deliberate design feature of the previous government's policy to also keep wages down. And the irony is they now come in here trying to have a crack at this Labor government, who's trying to work very hard to reverse a decade of policy that they had instituted to make sure that wages would not grow, that productivity would not grow. And what the Labor government is doing now, under the leadership of Anthony Albanese and Jim Chalmers and Katie Gallagher, is to reverse those policies. The other topic that we heard today in question time was around the fuel efficiency standards. And I want to touch on this because this also does go to the heart of cost of living in this country. And it's about also giving people around the country choice for them and their families about vehicles that use less petrol, less fuel. In fact, we get to a point where you may not actually need to use fuel and just simply electricity, which will be much cheaper for people in the long run, which is another initiative that we would hope that you on the other side would actually come to the table and work with the Labor Party and the crossbench at trying to keep the costs down for people at home. Having much better fuel efficiency standards in this country is good not just for the environment but good for people's hip pockets. Families will pay around $5,000 a year, who pay $5,000 a year in fuel costs, will look at a savings of around $1,000 a year and $17,000 over the life of the vehicle. Sorry, Senator? And there are many choices, because by implementing the new vehicle efficiency standards, there will be greater choice for people in this country, and it will include utes, it will include vehicles that will be able to tow boats. There will be bigger ranges of vehicles in this country. And the sad indictment is, ladies and gentlemen who are in the gallery today and listening, is that Australia and Russia are the only 2 countries in the developed world that do not have these standards in place. It is amazing that somehow the rest of the world don't have utes, they don't have vehicles that tow these big boats, but guess what? They also have the same standards that we're trying to implement here in this country. People will save money, they will have cheaper vehicles, they will have vehicles that will be much more efficient and better for the environment, and quite frankly it is a win-win situation. I'm surprised those opposites won't support the package.